It's your boy Big Ant coming to you with another video. Go ahead and like and subscribe to get notified for the next video for all your fantasy needs and much more. So, man, I'm not gonna take long, man. I'm not just gonna go through it kind of quick. Um, these are the top 5 wide receivers that you need for your value picks. That's gonna help you win your fantasy for this season. Um, these guys are definitely, guys who put up numbers, and they don't, these are like wide receiver twos and threes that you'll get for like your second pick for your wide receiver, your second pick, or your second wide receiver pick, or your third wide receiver pick. These guys are definitely going to put in work this season. But like the first value pick is definitely George Pickens. You know, Pickens is a big play upsides. He's always been dangerous down the field, especially with contested catches, and that gives him like a week winning ceiling. Every week he can go off. You know what I'm saying? Even when sometimes his value, his volume isn't elite, but he can get a big play anytime and catch get a touchdown anytime, which will boost his fantasy. And it was times last season that he wasn't there for the first couple quarters, and then boom, the fourth quarter he just went off. So we're gonna, and then he's with Dak. Him and Dak put up numbers last year. Let's just go to his numbers. He played 17 games, 137 targets, with 93 receptions. Man, with he finished the season with 1,400 yards and 9 touchdowns. Man, it is an elite season for George Pickens. He had an elite season, man. He finished the year with 17.2 fantasy points per game. That was number 5 in the whole league last year. He was number 5 in fantasy points. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, what I'm saying, if you got a chance to get George Pickens like as your wide receiver too, you got to get him, man. He, his upside is just crazy for the fantasy, and like you said, in whichever fantasy you take, he doesn't cost that much, or he's going to be a later pick. So you don't have to just go get him right off bat. You can wait in the draft and pick him if he's available. Get him. Like if you your second wide receiver off the board, you need to take George Pickens. Um, he's just a better uh, wide receiver with Dak. Well, he's just fits Dak perfect. Dak is a pass heavy style QB, and that would just boost George Pickens' production even more. You saw that last season. You know what I'm saying? He's proven his production. Um, just the stats I just read, that's really this season he had was a wide receiver one level numbers. He had 9 touchdowns. He had 50, almost 1,500 yards, 1,400 yards, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the cheaper than his ceiling. Several fantasy sources say his draft cost is still below where his upside is, and making him a strong value pick, man. So, hey, if you have George Pickens uh, left in your draft, like as your wide receiver too, you need to get him off the board. So he's my first value pick uh, off the board that you have to get if you have a chance to get him. Okay. So next, number two, number two. Let's get it going. We have Michael Pittman, man. Come on, like okay, Michael Pittman. The move he made to the Steelers was a good move for him. You know, his production was pretty good last season. But it's kind of his less yard season. He only had 784 receiving yards, but that was because his quarterback situation, Daniel Jones going out for the season, happened to Philip Rivers haven't played in years and just comes to be his quarterback. But he still had a good season. Man. He played all 17 games, so he's still healthy. Had 111 targets, 80 receptions, 784 yards, and finished with 7 touchdowns. That is elite ball. So he finished with 7 touchdowns, and he finished the season with 11 fantasy points per game. So like if you could take Michael Pittman, I don't say maybe your wide receiver, maybe your wide receiver three, or he can be a wide receiver too if if you come across him. Um, you might want to take him as your wide receiver two or three, and like Pickens, he has a big play upside. He's always been dangerous on downfield and contested catches. Oh no, that was for George Pickens, but he's a now Pittman he's a reliable volume guy. You know what I'm saying? His value comes from targets and reception, which is exactly what you want in PPR formats. So Fantasy Outlook projects him as a steady wide receiver three. That's why I say he's a wide receiver two or three. But he with the upside if the offense leans on him, and I feel like Aaron Rodgers gonna lean on him a lot because DK Moore is like a deep threat down the field kind of guy. You're gonna need somebody who get those short yards and get those those comeback catches and underneath. So I feel like that's kind of gonna be the Pittsburgh's kind of offense this season because you want Aaron Rodgers to get the ball in his hand. You don't want him just holding the ball, taking too many sacks. So he's gonna need Michael Pittman to get open and get those yards and get those underneath catches. He's Pittsburgh is definitely a good fit for Michael Pittman. His recent projections say he could become, an underneath target and possibly lead the team in receptions if the offense uses a quick game approach, which I think they will. Uh, so that's why I think that's the offense they're leaning on. He also had 7 touchdowns. Let's go to his game log. So yeah, man, it was times he went on the stretch. Just three, he had 20, 23, 20. You know what I'm saying? He gonna go on those stretches where he get 19, 15, 14 fantasy points. Like we got the week he was making consistent fantasy points. He was getting those points, man. So he kind of like I said, the production kind of went down at the end of the season there because of Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers wasn't being able to get him the ball. They didn't really have, he was, Phillip Rivers hasn't played in years, so the production kind of went down. You know, but like I said, that was with the Colts. He's with the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. I feel like Pittsburgh is gonna lean on Michael Pittman a lot this season. So if you have a chance to get Michael Pittman as your wide receiver two or three, you need to get him off the board. Get him off the board as soon as you can, man. He's like I say, he's a very good value pick. His projected ranking is lower than his upside, which makes him a possible draft bargain rather than expensive bet. So yeah, man, Michael Pittman is going to give you, you know, he's really a safe target, and can fill your your wide receiver three flex spot. He's very reliable. He may not be flashy and make like some big play receivers, but volume wins in fantasy. Come on, man. Say it again. Volume wins in fantasy. So that's why I say these are your top volume guys that you need to win your fantasy league or win your fantasy for that week, man. So, man, get Michael Pittman if he's available for your wide receiver three flex or even your wide receiver two. He's a top volume guy that you need. Okay. Another thing, I'm just gonna end off on Michael Pittman. Um, he has steady catches. You know what I'm saying? He has good hands. You know what I'm saying? And a good red zone upside too, man. He's good in the red zone. You know what I'm saying? That's what you need to score those touchdowns. Like I said, he had 7 touchdowns last season. I see him having more this season with Aaron Rodgers. So okay, so we're gonna end with Michael Pittman. This is number three, man. Number three, uh, is definitely Quentin Johnston. Quentin Johnston, man. Quentin Johnston last season was by far his best season. He really started to come in his own for the Chargers, man. Cause like it seemed like his first 2 seasons, he wasn't there for him to be, you know, their top draft. I think that was his top draft pick. What draft pick was he? Uh, what draft pick was he? He said his draft pick. I think he was the the Chargers' first draft pick there in 2023. Yeah, so out of TCU. Yeah, I remember, man. They got Quinn Johnson. They think he's gonna be uh, the wide receiver that they needed. You know, his first season he did all right, but he only averaged like five fantasy points a game, which was very bad. But fast forward to 2025, last season, man, he jumped up to 12.2 um, fantasy points per game, which is phenomenal, man. You know, he had a good upside last year in fantasy. He had some elite games where he balled out. He ended up finishing the season with 735 yards. He played in 14 games, had 84 targets with 51 receptions, and 8 touchdowns. Man, he had 8 touchdowns again in 2025. So let's say Quinn Johnston, he's going to have those breakout games. And remember he was dropping the ball a lot. Last year he dropped the ball a couple times, but it wasn't as bad as it was his first 2 years. Like last year, he really showed that he can be an elite man. You know what I'm saying? So let's see. And like he said, he's another like wide receiver three flex, wide receiver two. He's a guy that you can he's a volume guy. He's a guy that you're gonna need on your draft team that you're gonna need to win your draft. I mean to win your league or win the fantasy for that week or win for that day or you're gonna need guys like Quinn Johnston. Let's go to his game log, see how he did. Like his first game, he started out like he came out the season hot. His first 4 games, man. His first game, 24 fantasy points, um, 2 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? He was just a beast this year, last season, and he started in with the Raiders, 15 fantasy points. Denver, 14 fantasy points, and let's look at all these guys are in his division. So he got to play these guys twice a year. So it's like twice a year he's gonna go off on these guys. You see, he went off last season when he played in his division. For his first 4 games, he went off in fantasy. He went off in fantasy, and it still showed that every time he played the people in his division, he still had good games. Uh, so yeah, Quentin Johnson, man, you got to get Quentin Johnson. He's like a good, like you say, wide receiver three, a flex kind of guy that you can get if he's still available. Um, you need to get him. Very high value guy. He's better. Like you say, he's better as a value pick. That's why I say he's a top 5 value pick. So my number 3 is definitely Quentin Johnson. You want if he's available, get him. So we're gonna go to number 4. I told you I was gonna try to go through this quick. I want to have you guys here all night. It's quick and simple. These are just value guys that you need. Uh, my fourth value guy is DJ Moore, man. Like him going to the Bills was such a good trade or a good signing. It wasn't a trade. He signed to them, but like free agent trade. I mean, free agent signing. So yeah, his production kind of went down last season, but like he said, the last couple seasons, man, he went off. So he kind of had 10, fantasy points. He finished the season with 680 yards, 50 receptions out of 85 targets, and he played all 17 games. But like I said, he's with Josh Allen now. He's with a way better quarterback, way better, and he fits that. He DJ Moore could actually be a good wide receiver too, because that really don't they only have they have a Dunze, and they have not a Doom. I'm sorry, that's who he was with. I'm talking the Bills. The Bills. really they have all this just secure. You know what I'm saying? Keon Coles really was like a bust. Like he may come out this season. Like he has to come out this season. I feel like they're gonna get rid of Keon Cole, but DJ Moore to me is like the wide receiver two already. You know, for the Bills and him and Josh Allen, man, they're gonna put up numbers this upcoming season. They're gonna put up crazy numbers, real crazy numbers. Uh, like DJ Moore, like he's too talented to stay down for long. You know, he didn't have a pretty good season, but like I said, him and but those games he did have, like he balled out this season, man. Let's go this game log. Like he still had good games where he had major fantasy points. You know, so he went out and when Cincinnati had 23 fantasy points, he had another 23 fantasy points against Pittsburgh uh, later in the season. 22 fantasy points, 21 fantasy points. Last two games, 17, 17. So that's what I'm saying, man. He's with a whole better team now. He's with a better quarterback, if you ask me, than Josh Allen. He's just gonna get more targets. He's the kind of guy that's very consistent. He catches the ball. He gets open. Uh, like he's the guy that constantly improves every game. You know, so I would say he's not a wide receiver one pick, but if he's available as a wide receiver two or three, or man, get him. Like he has proven, you know, he's he's going to get yards. You know, he'll bounce back candidate. You know, he's going to outperform. You know, the other team. You know, the other cornerback every. You know, he's just a guy that wants to work, man. Just get it in. So yeah, that's my number four value pick. It's definitely DJ Moore if he's available as your wide receiver two or wide receiver three flex. Get him. He's gonna have a phenomenal season with the Bills this year. I can feel it. I know it, and he's gonna need these value picks, man. These guys, that's gonna have good games and that's gonna go off games that are gonna boost your fantasy points up. You know, it's gonna help you win these fantasy leagues, help you win these these fantasy programs, these fantasy games on underdog. You know, weekly games and stuff. He's gonna help you win these if you can get them as a value pick. I'm not saying these guys are not your wide receiver ones. These are not the first wide receiver guys that you take. You take these guys as your second and third wide receiver. That's gonna help you win your fantasy, help you win some money. You know, so okay, last but not least, man, this is the only rookie I have on my list, but he's definitely going to go off this season. Let's go. Jordan Tyson with the New Orleans Saints, man. Like, this was just a W draft for the Saints. Even though, Tyler Shaw, he's his second year, but Tyler Shaw showed promise. And what he showed is that he can get the ball to his receiver. He can get the ball to his receiver. And he can make plays with his feet. But like I said, he can get the ball down the field. And Jordan Tyson is one of those guys that can get open. I feel like he's gonna have a breakout rookie season. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna have a breakout rookie season like a Parker Washington or a Mika Ibuka. He's gonna have that type of rookie season. You know, he was a beast at Arizona State. You can't really do that like games. Last game, he was just a baller, man. These last two seasons at Arizona had over 1,000 yards. His last season had 700 yards. Like, man, he's just a guy that just gets open and who just can catch the ball, explosive. So I feel like he's gonna have a lot of explosive plays. he's already showed in college that he, can command volume, and volume is king in fantasy. Let's say it again. Volume is king in fantasy, man. You need volume players to win your fantasy, and these are top volume receivers that you need to get on your team, man. Point blank, period. You know what I'm saying? You need these guys on your team to win your fantasy. Uh, again, Jordan Tyson, the Saints offense can support more than one receiver, so he doesn't need to be the only option to matter. But his route running and separation skills get him a high ceiling from day one. He's the kind of rookie you draft for the upside, not just the floor, man. He has the durability. These can be well. He was hurt, so um, if he can just stay healthy, man, just stay healthy, man. Jordan Tyson and the Saints are gonna do some good things this year. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up here, man. If y'all like, subscribe, man. Please get me to at least 100,000 subscribers. I'm a new creator. Man, just help me by running up the views, giving me likes, uh, comment who's your best value player on my list and on your list. Give me a comment and give me a subscribe, man. Big and out.